Hey up. Back to the noughties this episode with more millenitrash. We're taking a look at The Wickeds. This is a direct-to-video horror film from 2005, directed by John Poague, who looks like he hasn't really done anything directing or acting-wise since 2008, apart from one little cameo in something in 2023, so had quite a few years dormant. This is his second feature as well. The film stars porn actor turned cameo man Ron Jeremy, and then just sort of a bunch of unknowns, really. We've got Justin Alvarez, who just sort of done bit part here and there. Gabrielle Dennis, who seems to be doing alright. Was in an episode of My Name is Earl, and had a voice cameo in Wendell and Wild. And then we've got Brian Donahue, who, funnily enough, was in a Rex Viper music video. That made me laugh. But yeah, not really any big names in this outside of Ron Jeremy. And to be honest, I'm not really expecting much from this. Not only is it a white spine hard gore film, which we've generally been disappointed with, but this version, I don't know if you can tell, but it looks like it's been dipped in water. It's got like really bad water damage to it. So, not looking great from the outset. Let's check it out, shall we?
This place, they were shooting some cheesy direct-to-video horror flick and probably didn't have to do too much to make it creepy, if you know what I mean. They're supposed to be done for the week.
It was a freak accident. It was rigor mortis. Look at Tony, my ass! It was spook.
The plot follows a group of teens who are off to a house party and decide to stop by an abandoned cabin that's currently being used as a movie set just to dick about for a little bit. Meanwhile, a bunch of grave robbers are out getting an amulet off of a corpse that has a curse attached to it, so when they grab it, they accidentally raise the dead. Fleeing, they end up in the same cabin as our teens, and they have to work together to hoard off the zombies, vampires, and ghosts. It's your sort of typical trapped in a cabin while there's zombies about film. We've seen it a million times before. But unfortunately, it just doesn't really get the pacing right here. It spends far too much time with screaming and arguing characters, and not enough time getting into any nitty-gritty, being proactive towards the plot or anything.
God, it's so cold in here. Can somebody help me find my shirt?
Sweetie, you're holding your shirt. You okay?
He's a fucking vampire!
Relax, you smelly old bastard.
The acting, as you can probably imagine in this, is pretty awful. Ron Jeremy is probably the most competent actor in this, and I think that says a lot about the film. The characters are all just kind of generic as well. They're all stereotypes, but a lot of them just sort of have the same trope attached to them. So I kept confusing a lot of the guys, especially. I kept getting mixed up as to who was who. The gore, for the most part, is probably the best part of the film. It's competently made. Some, if not most, of the budget was probably put towards it, and it's probably the highlight of the film, really. There's some sleazy elements as well, of course there is, but they're a bit weirder in this one. There's the odd bit of upskirting and such, and the odd sex scene, but the sex scenes are generally clothed, and with jeans on at that. One of the girls is topless for quite a lot of this film, but constantly, all the way through, she's covering her boobs with her hands, and it just looks ridiculously awkward. Ghosts, zombies, and vampires. This film cannot make up its mind as to what monster it wants to focus on, and it causes it to feel very, very muddled most of the time. There's one ghost, and it's just sort of glossed over and never really delved into. The main vampire is pretty campy and funny, to be honest. He was probably one of the highlights as well. And the zombies, unfortunately, are just a little bit generic. You know, we've all seen a low-budget zombie, and this doesn't really do much to excel in that area. There's a point as well where some of the teens turn into either zombies or vampires. I wasn't entirely sure at the time, maybe I missed a bit of dialogue or something. And I really can't remember now. Either way, they still talk, and I remember being kind of annoyed because they'd not shut up beforehand, and they're still talking even when they've turned into a monster. Didn't really care for that. How it's made is not particularly great either. The camera shakes around a hell of a lot. Some of the composition is ridiculously bad. The camera's pointing just somewhere and the focus should be over there, and it looks awful for a lot of it. The colouring's not right, and it changes between shots, which can be quite jarring. Same for the sound as well. That'll go from relatively clear to kind of echoey within the same sequence of shots, and it's pretty cheap and just not very well put together, really.
Aw, man, that means when you turn, we're gonna have to kill you.
Man, I can't kill you.
I'll kill you.
Shut up.
So this is the sort of film that I'm generally talking about when I say millenitrash. This has most of the tropes and the vibe is right for it. You've got your shaky camera and your fast, weird editing. It looks like it was shot on DV. The audio's off, the colouring's off, the plot is generic, the humour is absolutely awful and very of its time, and all this is just sort of underlined with this stock metal music. Unfortunately though, I don't know, I didn't really have much of a soft spot for this one like I did with things like Nutbag. But I think it's just because I wasn't really laughing at it either while it was on. It wasn't that incompetent that it was hilarious to look at, it was just sort of cheap and a bit boring, I guess. I want to talk about the credits on this as well. So the credits are about 8 minutes long, and they're that long because it intersperses sort of unfunny outtakes and alternate clips and bloopers throughout it. But not only do we have extra clips put in between the credits, but the text crawl is one of the slowest things I've ever seen. It is painfully slow. They were really trying to squeeze every second they could out of this film. Weirdly, one piece of trivia that I found about this is that all the names of the teenagers are based off of TV shows, like characters from TV shows, from things like Melrose Place and 90210. I've never seen any of them, so I don't really know, but that's the only piece of trivia about this film. And lastly, I want to mention the amount of times that this makes reference to other films. Bruce Campbell gets a shout out a bunch of times, and they quote Night of the Living Dead. And I've said it a few times before, and I'll say it again. Don't make reference to a better film in your shit film, because it's just going to make me want to watch the good film that you're referencing.
You know what, fine, you guys are assholes.
Yeah, I'm in. Give it to me. I can make this go there.
This is our only shot to get out of here.
Jake, it's too risky. If we all go out there, we're not all gonna make it. Billy is too sick to run, Alyssa's too freaking hysterical, and Gus...
Okay, let's look at the print then. It's fine, really. It's passable. It doesn't look awful. It is in widescreen, then converted to 4:3, so it looks like a tiny little window on a big TV, which isn't great. But I think most of my problems with this lie with how it was put together in, like, I guess the editing process, really. Nothing really to do with the conversion over, but again, they've not really done anything to enhance how this is put together and how it looks or anything. It's pretty much just here's something we badly put together, straight onto a disc, no more thought about it. There was one massive glitch in it as well, and if it is transferred across properly, I'll show it in the clips. On the disc, we get the usual basic stuff: chapter select, trailer for this film, and Hard Gore trailers. Back to the basics.
Hey, the window's broken.
And time to take a look at the case. The cover for this is horrible, off-putting, and it just looks super cheap. I really hate how it looks. Look how pixelated that corpse is here as well. Not great. This tagline has flesh ripping as one word, weird, and of course Ron Jeremy's name is plastered on the front. The small amount of information on the back seems correct. It looks pretty empty back here though. The runtime's right and it reads fine. They do use the US spelling of rumoured though. I don't know, maybe it was written by the directors. But outside of that, there's nothing of note here. Overall then, this was cheap, annoying, and I'm guessing it's gonna be pretty forgettable. The gore was decent. Ron Jeremy had some funny moments, but I know for a fact that give me a month and I am not going to remember a single part of this film at all. It's just not great. It's not worth your time at all, really. It wouldn't make a good movie night film, and it is definitely not worth watching on your own. If for some reason you are in the market for this though, this version's fine. It's passable. You'd have to get it cheap though, honestly. It's not worth putting any money down for. There are imports. There's a German version I found that's called Halloween Party. I think it's the same film, I'm not entirely sure. And then there's a US import as well, but they cost like actual money, whereas this is not worth that. It might be worth a 50p purchase from CEX or something as a curiosity piece. I wouldn't bother, though. If I were you, I wouldn't bother with it. So, boring, sort of generic millenitrash this episode. But next episode, we're mixing it up a little bit. Thank God, because I don't think I could hack another millenitrash film straight away after that one. We're watching something notorious and controversial, something that I've seen before, and something that sparked a big wave when it came out. It's known by a lot of people. It's probably been seen by quite a few people. And I have no idea how the hell I'm going to talk about it on this channel without getting in trouble with YouTube, basically. We're going to be checking out Faces of Death.